This is the VoltBike Enduro 2020, and it's a great deal right now. I got mine on sale for $2,700 because it's 2022 now, and the model's been out a few years now. It's definitely worth it. It's a great value. Its best use is for going around rough city areas and urban areas where you need to get up and down curbs, or maybe the bike lane isn't too good, or maybe there's not any bike lane. It's great for trails, scouting around, joyriding. You can also use it for commuting to some degree and some light enduro. I wouldn't recommend it for really serious enduro or hardcore mountain biking because it is a class 2 e-bike with a throttle and it's 60 pounds, so it could muck up some of those more delicate trails. And then there's restricted areas too where they don't want class 2 e-bikes, so definitely be careful about that. Also, be careful about taking it in crowded walkway areas because it can be kind of zippy, and a lot of those kind of sidewalk areas, they don't want those kinds of e-bikes anyways. And then cross country isn't a good purpose for this bike either because it has limited range after the battery goes dead. Now, I've owned my VoltBike for about 4 months now, and I've rode it for 1,000 minutes or 17 hours, and you can get all this information on your cycle computer. I've gone a total of 370 kilometers, which is about 230 miles so far. Now, a little bit about VoltBike as a company. They're a Canadian-based company, started in 2013, and they've been in business about 9 years now. They have distribution in Blaine, Washington, which is 500 miles within my location, and I got my bike within a week, so if you're on the West Coast, they'll have pretty good shipping times. The best things about this bike is the range. It gets an estimated 40 to 50 miles, ideally with the 17 amp hour battery. It has really good suspension, I would say, for the price, and it can handle potholes, get up and down curbs good. It has good tires. Everything came with a good preset pressure right out of the box. It has fun stuff like a thumb throttle. Speed and acceleration are good on the bike, and it has a USB charger. And it comes with good accessories too, like an automatic light, a good kickstand, and some multi-tools. Now, the bad things about the bike, the main thing I didn't like was the chain guide because it slipped and started rubbing on the chain when I accidentally bumped it with my shoe, and it has an adjustment with a star bolt, which is kind of hard to get to as well. So if you do bump it, it just kind of gets stuck sometimes, and then the bike can hardly move at all. The handles that come with the bike are kind of annoying because they seem to lack an adjustment screw or ability to lock in place. I looked all over the handles and I couldn't find anything like that anywhere. They seem to be just press fit on there, and you have to like just really force them to move the angle that they're at. They're good handles. They're ergonomic leather, but they just don't have an ability to lock in place really, and they can slip over time, and then you have to just really press them to get them at the angle you want. And then the bar ends are really hard to get off. I couldn't even get mine off. I tried so hard to get them off. I started scraping up the handle, so I just gave up because I wanted to get a rear view mirror on the bar end, so that's another thing worth mentioning. And then the last thing is that the charger seemed to be kind of inaccurate. It showed 85% on the cycle computer, even though the charger said the battery was fully charged. And I don't know what that is. It might have been my grid connection, or I'm not sure why that was, but it's worth mentioning. The cycle computer that comes with the bike is alright. It has good resolution. It doesn't have a quick disconnect, though, to remove the screen completely from the bike. You can unplug the cables from the screen to prevent people from turning the bike on and off, so that's a good thing. The problem is that the handlebars aren't quite thick enough to get a good grip on the C-clamp, so they put like tape to give the bars a little more diameter, but for my bike they didn't have quite enough tape, so the screen kept slipping around, so I'll have to add a little more tape so that the cycle computer will get in a good locked position and not slip around so much. But that's an easy thing to fix after you get the bike. Now for the specs or the details of this bike. It has a step over aluminum frame with internal routed cables and wires. It's a frame size of 19 inches, and I measured the step over height to be 27 inches at the lowest point. It has a weight of 60 pounds, and the rear suspension is an Shock DNM AO-42RC with a lockout and rebound adjustment. It's electronics. It has a clip-on battery that I weighed to be about 10.2 pounds. The battery has a handle so you can easily just hold it with one hand if need be, and the battery also has a USB charger built onto it so you can use it as a portable power bank. It's a 48 volt battery at 17.5 amp hours or about 840 watt hours. It has Samsung 18650 cells, 35E, Samsung's SDI Superb Cell Balance technology. Its charger should take 2 to 4 hours to fully charge the bike. It takes 3 amps at 120 volts, which is about 360 watts, and then the output is about 54 volts at 5 amps. The rear electric range is estimated to be 60 to 80 kilometers or 40 to 50 miles ideally, and that could drop over time depending on weather conditions and whatnot, of course. The motor is a Bafang Mid-Drive Class 2 500 watt M600 with 120 Newton meters of torque. It has a top rated speed of 32 kilometers per hour, which is about 22 miles per hour, and the motor itself is said to weigh 3.7 kilograms, which is about 8.15 pounds. It has a triple sensor system, a torque sensor, and 2 speed sensors. The chain has a slap guard. It has aluminum pedals. The crankset is aluminum alloy with 42 teeth, 170 millimeter with outer guard. It has a Freewheel Shimano Altus 8-speed cassette with 11 to 32 teeth range. The rear derailleur is a Shimano Acera RD-M360 SGSL 8-speed direct rear derailleur, and then it has a shifter, Shimano Acera SLM310 rapid fire shifter with 8-speed. The LCD screen is a Bafang DP240 high contrast with an IP65 rating and a USB charging point. It has Tektro Aruga hydraulic brakes with dual pistons and 180 millimeter rotors, so it has good stopping power. The front fork is a Suntour XCM coil spring fork with lockout function and 100 millimeters of travel. The wheels are 27.5 inch with 36 spokes, 13 gauge front and rear. The tires are Maxxis Minion DHR 27.5 by 2.3 inch tubeless ready, and the seat is a 31.6 millimeter by 350 millimeter Pro Max aluminum alloy, and it has an optional seat post clip rear light that you can put on it, and then it has a Velo plush saddle that works pretty well. Now the bike comes in a big box with plenty of packaging and foam cushioning. Mine didn't have any damage that I could tell. The handlebars are off, zipped to the frame, and I recommend you keep them on until you remove the bike from the box. It comes ready to roll. Install is pretty easy. Just read the manual, get all the bolts. It comes with the tools. Now you want to be really careful when you undo the zip ties that are keeping the handlebars strapped to the frame, because you can accidentally scrape the stuff, so just be really careful about that. And then the handlebars are under tension as well. You can unplug the cycle computer and the throttle if you want, but the brakes are going to be stuck on there, so just keep that in mind. The next thing is to put on the pedals. It goes into detail in the manual. It doesn't come with any grease, so if you don't have any bike grease handy, you can just use some Vaseline lip balm to help make the threads go on nice and smooth and keep the metal nice and clean. You can charge the battery on or off the bike, and after that you can go ahead and give it a little test ride. It says to make sure that the motor inhibitor works, so make sure that if you press the brakes that the motor goes off. And for me, the pressure in the tires and the suspension was all good and it was ready to go. The last thing I would say is just make sure you have a bolt or bit to adjust the chain guide in case it slips on you, and maybe even bring it with you if you go on your ride. And that's about it.